Hi, I'm Janice Corsano, and this is How to Survive Art School.
Hi, I'm Christine.
And I'm Christine too.
In this episode, because it feels like we're doing so much like that, then we talk about that 150%, and we go, well, I'm doing 150%, like the person's supposed to know that. And we're missing Michelle. Okay, so how's everyone doing? Christine won.
I'm just having constant meltdowns.
Don't you just love when that happens?
Meltdown after meltdown because of the meltdown. And
You
Having a
are?
meltdown.
This is what's happening currently? Or are you
currently, like today, I just cried all day.
She's having a meltdown because she's melting
And
down.
I'm melting down, and it's just I know it's irrational and not worth it and doesn't make sense, but the emotions and the feelings are just so strong. They're taking over.
But what's
It could be anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Especially empathic, then everything that you feel makes the energy even bigger so that your stuff, and literally if you look at somebody, they could start crying. Like you, it's like, yeah. No.
Yeah, and then I was crying and the dog came up to me to like hug me and give me kisses and I started crying more. Like bawling. Like
Jeez.
And you're out in the world a lot.
Yeah.
So,
and I find that it happens when I'm at, like, a lot of it was like, a lot of times I can just wait till I get home and then release cry.
mm-hmm.
This is like being out and just being hit, like needing to excuse myself in a moment because I want to cry, because I'm crying. Today it's like been a build up the past 2 weeks. This was like the breaking point.
That was the last straw, wasn't it?
The last straw where I was like, if I don't make, I was like, I considering going home.
So you weren't able to let it go during the week? What was it doing?
So I was very up and down, but like that extreme up where it's like, this is great, things are going well and happy, and then the crash was a crash, and it was just, and then I would get really one good night of sleep, and the next day I would wake up and I hadn't slept all night. And
yeah, that's exactly what's going on. The extremes are really high. You haven't been noticing them as much, have you?
No. I've had some like really high super ups, and then was conscious of like, this is weird. Like that. Oh, I feel like this is going to end badly because I feel good, and typically that doesn't last that long. But I think because I was aware that I was feeling that way, that like when you feel good, it typically only lasts a short amount of time, then you feel shitty again. I was like really consciously working towards not
doing that,
yeah.
Not having the drop out.
Yeah. And I mean, and it helps that like I'm not like exposed to a lot of public situations a lot. Like I'm either here or if I'm nannying, I'm with the kids, and they tend to be not necessarily as maybe affected. I don't know, or I'm not as affected by them somehow.
Yeah, well, kids' energy is different, and they actually run it through them pretty good. Like if they're little, that's all they're running around, and they're crying, and they're, they kind of let go of energy pretty easily.
Yeah, and I do. I made the decision to like every morning do something like, so I've been taking my dogs for a hike like pretty much every morning, and I think that that's been really actually important for me because that tends to center and ground me and kind of put me in a good place for the day.
Yeah, there is no option anymore of not doing your exercises because the option would be otherwise we can feel, and even doing them, we could feel so much. So the idea that you're doing that would be that's the thing that helps me. It's like picking the ones that work the best for you, and that's why we have a bunch of different ones. It's like, okay, which ones work the best for you? Which ones at this time? Because we're going through such a change, and the acceleration of the energy is high, the intensity is really high, and it's like, all right, which ones do I need to do? And making sure we're doing them. the whole thing with the memory, that we have no memory or don't know what day it is. Not only that we can't remember what we did yesterday. If you ask me what I did yesterday, I'd have to sit here. I could probably go, well, I know I worked and I did clients. Like it would be more like, I mean, something could have happened yesterday. I don't remember what it was.
Weeks, yeah. For me, like weeks feel like days. Like that's why Monday was so weird. On Monday, I got here and I felt like I was like time had somehow like warped for me and it slowed down. And by the time I got here, I was like, I feel like I'm in my second day today because I had already done so much that morning. But it's weird for me, like everything, like typically, like the last, maybe couple of months, everything feels so compounded. And all of a sudden, it's the next week, and it's the next week, and I'm really aware of how fast things feel like they're moving.
Yeah, time is actually sped up, and it's very hard for people to understand it, and it is. It's a hard understanding. Like what they show me up there does not necessarily translate down here in our world. It's not as easy to get the translation of it, but the vibration, if a vibration is higher, then things are moving faster. So just as a little thing, it's like we're vibrating higher. The more faster that we vibrate, the faster that the time would be, because that's a vibration of time. So it's weird, but everyone could feel it, even though the clock says the same. It's like we don't have less numbers on there. Apparently it still says 12.
Hopefully.
Well, yeah, as far as I know. And everyone's getting sick, too, because I hear a lot of people being sick. And this whole thing that I have, that, with the congestion and stuff, had lasted for like a month. And, that's, doing way too much and being, pummeled by the energy, and even doing the exercises and not having enough time to do them as much as I would need to do them. And, the energy is so intense that it's wearing us out. And then even if we weren't doing anything, we're being upgraded. We're having upgrades. Everything's changing in our bodies. We couldn't actually take the pressure of the vibration if we don't change our bodies. Like the way that we work mentally, emotionally, physically. The way that they show it to me is that if we don't have these downloads and upgrades, like these things that we need, that we would be pressure, like the pressure would be too much for all of us. And you could see it in quite a few people, where they're losing it. It's like very difficult for them, and they're having a very hard time, and they're literally like losing their minds. And that's something that can happen very easily because of the energy. Like chemistries, their chemistry's off. They're taking things very personal. A lot of people are reacting before they even stop. So we have, fights and stuff. Like these fights that are amazing. Like somebody was telling me that yesterday they were on 95. And when they were on 95, they were saw a little taxi, and it was like a small car taxi, and an oil tanker, and a 18-wheeler. So somebody must have cut somebody off.
Yeah.
Somebody must have cut somebody off,
Mm-hmm.
and now they were playing chicken with each other back and forth. And they were literally like, could have caused a major accident. We have a oil tanker, we have a 18-wheeler, and we have a little taxi. And they said that they were watching this going, do you guys not know that this could be like a major, and they're cutting each other off, and they're giving each other the finger, and they're like, like really
That's insane.
they're having meltdowns, and they're using their vehicles as,
Yeah.
going back and forth. And they're like, let me just slow down and stay back, because when this stuff hits the fan, it's not going to be good, and I don't want to be any part of it.
Yeah.
But they were surprised. They're like, so what are the people thinking in there while they're doing that?
Especially the taxi driver.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone's getting like creamed. Oh my god! If I'm that taxi driver, I'm not challenging either of those.
You would think, but that's what we're talking about, the not stopping, and like going from 0 to 60 in the anger, and you're not going, I'm a little taxi. You're going, you did this, this, and this. That's not okay. And people don't even want to hear, like, we talk about, understanding how the person and what their real intention was. And people don't care. They don't want to know. Like, because they want to be, they're so invested in what their feeling is, that they were hurt so badly, that the idea that the intention was not to hurt them is not relevant at the
It
moment.
doesn't even matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Where that's the thing that we talk about. It's like, no, that's not what they were ever trying to do. They go, I don't care. It did that to me. It hurt me that bad. So that's what they did.
Mhm.
The truth of the matter is, though, that if you want to stay there, and that's what we talk about all the time now, it's the everybody's taking their stuff, improving it, and it's so big to the point that we don't even care if that was their intention or not. It still happened. I still felt hurt. It would still be your stuff. You felt hurt. If their intention wasn't to hurt you, if their intention was, nope, I don't care. I don't care that that was not their intention. I don't care that that's the way it made me feel, and that's the truth. And yeah, it made you feel like that, absolutely. But no one was trying to do that, so that's in you.
And it's also like, why are people not just saying, like, I think one of the first things I had learned when I first started coming here was the idea of saying, like, I feel this way, like what you're doing makes me feel, this is how I feel in reaction to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like people aren't even communicating those just I feel feelings. Like, it's just they're just taking it as, there's no communication happening about the thing that happened. It's, and if it is, it's all from like this defensive
Very defensive.
Instead of saying like how do we communicate to like create, like more of a conversation and try to like resolve the problem. It's like people
there's a
don't
lot
even
of
wanna
blame.
think about that as an option.
Yeah.
It's
Not trying to solve the problem so much anymore. Like, where that's something that we work on, in trying to solve the problem and to learn how to communicate more, to learn how to communicate better. Like you said, like the I feeling. Like, I feel, it made me feel like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to talk about our feelings and the person understand how we feel about something, but the idea that no one wants to even hear how we felt, and that even if we felt that way, that no, you still made me feel like this. So the idea that someone's doing it on purpose to you when they're really not, and that they can't communicate, like the miscommunication is so, it's like somebody is, it feels like somebody is literally going and saying something to you, and you're hearing blah, 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 blah.
Well, yeah, and the funny thing about that even is like, so like I have a male roommate, and he's really like says that he has issue with confrontation. He doesn't like to address people or whatever about things that are bothering him. Like, even to the point that he got a new job last year, and last year I think he knew like maybe 2 months before that he was going to be leaving his current job. And maybe there are other reasons why he didn't want to tell his that employer that he was leaving, but like it took him, I think, up until the week before he was actually going to be switching jobs to like work up the courage to tell his employer. So this is the type of like mentality he has.
Mm-hmm.
And we have issues, obviously, like any roommates do. But I realized that recently, like it's okay for me to talk about those things, in like a non-confrontational way, just let him know that how it makes me feel, and I would like help with these things. What I'm realizing is like I'll say that stuff, but he's not saying what he thinks or feels. Like, he's not going to,
Right.
And so he's still in his like world about probably things that I don't even know I'm doing.
Yep.
And feeling the way he feels, and getting more and more annoyed because I feel so much outwardly, like feel so much about all these things,
and then one day he's going to come in and scream at you.
He's just gonna leave. He's gonna move out is what he's gonna do. He won't, but it's like, how do you? I can't make you tell me, and then so it's very like those complications with, or not confrontation, just.
But you could ask him. You could ask him how he feels.
Mm-hmm.
You could ask him how he feels. You're saying how you feel. You could ask him how he feels because he's not talking to help him maybe be able to say how he feels.
Like, he doesn't feel he maybe doesn't know or hadn't learned that he can say those things without being prompted to.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because a lot of times people, if they're non-confrontational, if they're afraid to have, then if they said how they felt, then that might actually bring on a confrontation. I feel like you're not actually saying how you felt. You could say, I feel like you did this.
Mm.
That's not saying how you felt. It's saying I feel hurt when you do this, or I felt hurt because, or I, got angry because I was hurt. That's more of, a feeling. So when you're talking to him, what are you telling him that you're feeling?
I guess maybe I am not coming at it like that. Like I'm actually not saying it makes me feel, whatever, sad when you don't help out around the house. Like I'm saying, can you help out more around the house because I think I would like that. So I don't know if that's obviously not the same thing.
Yeah, no, because what would that then make him feel? Like you're basically telling him he's not doing enough.
Well,
right, and that's how you're feeling.
Yeah.
But in his, his mind,
yeah.
Who knows? He may feel like he's doing way more.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're saying, what does it make you feel? Like when you talk to him, if you're saying, can you help out around the house more? Because it makes me feel, that's fine. But that might make them also feel like, wait, she doesn't see all these other things that I'm doing?
Right.
Like she doesn't know that I'm doing this, this, and this, or, oh, I'm paying extra rent, so that's why I, did that so that I didn't have to do all this other stuff because I don't have the time or the energy to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So doesn't everybody know this? Like.
Yeah. No, it's funny because, conceptually I understand the idea of I feel, but I definitely didn't say that. I definitely was just like, I need help. Like, you're not doing enough. That's like what I'm basically saying.
So you didn't actually say I feel?
No, I don't think I did, now that I think about it.
And the idea that he probably took that and...
So what should you be saying?
She should be saying it makes me feel. So it's more of a I feel statement. Like, I feel when there's... If I feel like I'm doing more things around the house, it makes me feel like, and whatever it makes her feel. Because that's her thing. And the other person's saying it makes me feel whatever it is they're feeling. Because that's us. That's the thing that we're working on. It's like the reason that she feels like she's doing more around the house, whether she is or she isn't from his standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
She feels like that. So she gets to say, and how does it make her feel? Because she feels like she's doing more around the house. Like someone else isn't carrying their weight, she's cleaning up after them, whatever it is that she's feeling. But when we come and tell somebody, I need you to help more around the house because I feel like you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
Then
Instead
you didn't.
of saying like it actually just makes me feel like you don't care about like me or the house or the dogs when you don't help out.
Right. Because then the person can actually like really feel what that is. It's like, oh, you're really feeling not cared about. Oh, that's where this is coming from. Oh, that's not my intention. My intention, and one of the things they're able to kind of stop for a second, and we hope stop for a second and be able to say, oh, okay, that's not what I was trying to do. Because most of the time when someone says, like when we were talking about like the, picking up the stuff on the floor and me saying, wait, what did that make me feel like? Because I keep yelling at you about leaving your stuff on the floor. And in the bathroom, I'm like, why do I have to keep picking up your clothes? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you're walking right down the stairs. Why are you not picking them up? And then I'm getting mad. It's like, could you pick up your clothes? Like, but then I had to stop and think about why did it make me feel so upset that the person didn't pick up their clothes? And it made me feel disrespected. It made me feel like the person didn't care. It's like, oh, I could do all this stuff and continue to do all this stuff, but it was my thing. So when I talked to the person and said, it really makes me feel disrespected when you don't, and they went, disrespected? What are you talking about? They like looked at me like I had 3 heads. They're like, no, I'm sleeping when I do that. That is certainly not my intention, and I'm sleeping. So that's how I don't pick up my clothes, because I'm sleeping.
Like they're just not paying attention.
Right. They're just like not there yet. Like they sleep till they have to go to work, and then they go get in the shower or whatever, drop their clothes, put their towel on, they're still asleep. go to get dressed and totally don't even think about them. And I would walk by and see them and be like, you're walking down the stairs. Like, how do you not pick up your clothes? So then I'd get frustrated because I would say, like, can you please pick up your clothes? Like, I don't get, and none of those things worked. It would just irritate them more.
Right.
Because it would be like, well, don't you see that I'm working so hard that I'm half asleep when I'm actually in the shower to get ready for work? So they're not saying any of that stuff, but it comes out in the argument that you then have about something totally different, or an argument that you have about that, picking up your clothes, but then the resentment grows because no one's listening. It's like, so apparently you don't care because you don't pick up your clothes, so you don't really care. And then when we actually had the real conversation about how it really made me feel, because I had to sit and think about, like, why does it even bother me so much? And it's really bothering me. And the more that they don't do it, the more that I really, I feel disrespect. I don't feel like you give a shit. Like, I don't feel like you care. I was like, oh, hold on. That's what it made me feel. So when I said that, they were like, what are you talking about? I'm sleeping. I'm not. I would never be disrespecting you like that. That is not my intention at all. As soon as they knew that that's what it made me feel, they always picked up their clothes. And if they didn't, it never bothered me because I knew that was what they were doing.
Right.
So it solved its own problem just saying that. It made me feel, and I had to sit for a while. I had to figure out what it was, how it really made me feel. And then to be able to say to them, it really makes me feel like this. And they're like, what are you talking? Like, now, if the person was actually trying to do that, then we'd have to go like, all right, why are you trying to do that? Like if they went, yeah, I'm actually doing that because I'm doing it on purpose because now you're pissing me off that you're yelling at me because it makes me feel like you don't care that I'm working so damn hard. You know what I mean? Like, because that can be how they felt. But then we'd actually understand because then the other person would be like, what are you talking about? This is how it made me feel. That's why what we do is we tit for tat each other because we're hurt. When it comes down, it's like we feel taken advantage of or we feel this, but we never talked about what we really felt. The real thing.
And you can see, like, how, not having, like, you're having the conversation but not really having the conversation, how it just kind of, people are just bouncing off each other and never actually saying what they
the real thing is, yeah.
Which is mostly, I'm sure, is, like, I feel like you don't care, or you're whatever.
Yeah, and it's mostly is, I feel like you don't care, or that you're not there for me, or that I can't trust you, or that you, and it's really comes down to all the time that there's something that you aren't thinking about with me, like you don't care about me in the way that I see things, you don't respect me, and all those things come out to feeling like you don't matter, that you're not important, and that they don't care about you. Because it feels like we're doing so much like that. When we talk about that 150%, and we go, well, I'm doing 150%, like the person's supposed to know that.
Wait, what is it?
The 150% thing. So we'll go out of our way, and we'll, like, because we care about somebody, because we love them, we'll do 150%. We'll go and do things that, even though we're exhausted, tired, we'll just go do them because we care about you and we want to make sure that you're okay or that you're happy or that. But the other person doesn't know that we're doing 150%. So then we get mad when they don't appreciate that we went out of our way to the degree that we did. Because then we feel like, you don't even give, I'm doing 150%, you asked me to do one, and then they'll ask you to do something. So they'll say like, oh, can you then now grab me and say it's a cup of coffee? And you're like, what? I just washed your damn clothes. I just washed your car. I just, whatever the hell you did that when you went over 150%. I just stayed up with you till 2 a.m. and, because you didn't get home till 11 and you wanted to hang out for a little bit. I have to be up at 6. I stayed up till 2, so I didn't get any sleep. And now you want this, and this. Are you kidding? I want to kill you now. So the idea that we didn't feel that we were appreciated when we did 150% and doesn't the person see how much we're doing for them is funny because the person would never know. We didn't say, I'm doing 150%. You put one little straw in me and you're just going to break my back. They think that's how we are. How would they know? They don't know anything different. So they think, okay, that's the way that you function. So whatever it is you're running around doing, do 100%. Because if they ask you to do something after that, you still got plenty of 50% more apparently. Because apparently we could do 150%, although it's not actually a thing, but it's the feeling of that we're doing 150%. So when that last straw hits us, that's when we have the breakdown about how they didn't care. We're pushing ourselves. Nobody asked us to do all those things. Nobody even knows that we're doing way more than we could do to try to make you happy, to try to make you feel a certain way, to try to take care of you, to try to let you know how much we love you. Nobody knows that we're doing 150%. Everyone thinks that that's what you are just doing normally.
I feel like I do things like that, and I do it because I'm like, oh, if I do this for them, then they'll do some sort of reciprocation kind of thing.
That's funny.
But then I never communicate that, and so they don't.
So you ain't getting anybody to do that.
Damn it! Why don't they realize that they're supposed to know?
Right.
That I'm mentally,
that I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you. And then if we set them up as an expectation, it's like, so I went and did your dishes. So that means that you do my dishes. We didn't talk to them about it. We didn't tell them. They have no idea. They might not even have noticed. Meaning, like, they might not even have known that you were the one that did the dishes if there was more than one of you that could have done them. And then we're supposed to think that the person is going to do our dishes because we could very easily see, we clearly can see that I went out of my way to do this for you. So next time, you could do this for me. So if I need my dishes done, I could leave them and know that you got them. If we didn't talk to them.
How do you have that conversation with someone like, hey, just, I did your dishes, like, you got it next time? Like, I would never say that.
No, we would never be doing their dishes if we were looking for something in return unless we talked to someone. So we would basically be saying, you would make the deal about the dishes beforehand.
I can't even fathom this. This is sound crazy to you, Christine? Like the idea, like if I tried to text my roommates and be like, hey, I'm gonna do the dishes, you do it next time. I feel like I feel like they're so annoyed with me,
Well, that's because if you didn't have the conversation about what it really makes you feel with them to begin with, what's going on there, and each one of you are probably feeling all the same things. Each one of you are probably taken advantage of, feeling taken advantage of, and each one of you, for whatever things that they are, you might look like the bigger pain in the ass if you've been telling them all the time, and I need more help, or you need to do this, or you're doing not doing this, and you're feeling like, doing 150%, like we're talking about, and, going above and beyond, and feeling like these people aren't, doing half of what they need to be doing, and then you're getting more mad at them, and then they're getting mad at you because you keep bitching and moaning at them about, it's like, we're going to keep going in the same cycle until we actually have the conversation. So the conversation about, what you really felt, and what it makes you feel, the person that, most people aren't really trying to do that. So then they could say, well, this is what I'm actually doing, this is what's actually happening. No, I'm overworked, I'm tired, or I don't need things as clean as you do, or, whatever it is that, it makes me feel like you want everything a certain way that I can't do, or that's not, in my capability, or it makes me feel like you're putting a lot of pressure on me all the time and that I can't live up to it. It's just too much. Whatever it is, they could actually say. But as we start to learn about this, what we're really saying, then we can actually have real communication. And real communication is about what it really is doing. Because the only way to solve it is to have the real communication, because otherwise we just go around in circles. And then as you're seeing with your roommates, it's like, well, great. Now, I just told them again, they're not going to do it. But why are you doing things and thinking they would reciprocate? If you're not talking to them, if you're not...
I don't know. I guess I'm trying to lead by example. And I'm not really sure how else to... Because...
But why are you afraid to talk to them?
Well... I don't know. I guess I feel like well, there's a few things that sort of come up. One of them is definitely that the things I'm doing, helping to take care of the dogs. Okay, so there's multiple dogs in the house. A couple of them are mine, and one isn't. And so I will. I think part of the problem is that there's no agreement. So, I'll take the dogs to the park or whatever. And then, if I go away or whatever, the assumption is that
then, and it's not even an assumption, like, they will take care of them. But my problem is that when I've come back from these vacations, a lot of the time, like, the house is a disaster, the dogs seem like they're really stressed out and haven't been well taken care of, and it might just be that the guys can't really take care of them in that way, but they're not communicating that to me. And so I'm not really sure how to address it with them, because for me to tell them that I think that they aren't doing a good job, or that it seems like the dogs are stressed out, feels to me like I'm like insulting them, or I'm saying that they're.
But we would never talk to them like that,
I guess
because that would be
I just don't know how to say
that would be
it
more
like
of a
that.
fight.
Yeah, I
Because
don't
that's
know
the
how
start
to
of a
say
fight.
it without it being like offensive, though. Like,
But if you say that how you felt, like it feels like when I go away, that when I come back, that there's a mess on the floor that the dogs went, and it makes me feel like, what does it make you feel like? Makes you feel
Sorry.
right. It makes you feel no. It may makes you feel pissed. But what does pissed mean? But what does pissed mean? Because that's the underlying thing. We know that it's anger.
I mean, it feels like I have to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that they wouldn't help me, or they don't. It's like it's like they don't care. They don't care about the dogs, and the dogs are like,
And the idea that you're taking them and taking good care of them, and you're taking them with you, and they may think nothing of it because you have 2 dogs, you just said, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have 2, and there's one other one. So taking a third one with you when you already got 2, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
When
in fact
it's
like
a
a
big
really
deal.
big deal. It's
Right.
like very different.
Right. It's a totally big deal, because taking 2 that's yours, that you know how they interact together, and then having a third one, a lot of people go, well, what's the big deal? You're already going. You already got 2. So what's another one? Add a third kid.
Yeah.
Same thing. People do that all the time. It's like, well, you already got 2. What's the third one? And then people go, and some people it's easy, where it's like, well, the third one was fine. They just kind of fit right in. And other people are like, oh my God, that made such a difference.
Yeah.
But it depends on the person. So if you're the easy person, then you certainly don't see the big deal. But if you're the person that you add the third one in, and it's like, oh my God, that made it so much harder, then we're saying you're doing the 150%. It's like, and you're taking the dog regardless of how difficult it is, but you're not saying any of that. So you're getting resentful, because you're thinking that you're taking very good care of this animal and taking it for walks and doing all these things that its own owner doesn't do, that you see that the owner doesn't do or doesn't have time to do, so you go and do it. But when you go away and they are going to take care of your dogs, you think they're going to do something different with them that they can't even do with their own dog.
Yeah, well, not even, I guess it's true, but if I suppose I just feel like if, I don't know, it's always easy to say, well, if it were me,
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't going to be able to do a good job with it, I'd find a way, since it's now my responsibility.
But see, what's the good job, though?
Yeah, I mean, we have different, obviously, we have different standards, and one of the main issues, at least with this situation, is just that, like, I don't see these people, like, despite living together, like, we don't see each other, and even that I get resentful, because it's like, I would have these conversations with you, except you're never around, so, how am I supposed to communicate with you about these things?
Where are they?
Like work, or, with their girlfriends, or their girlfriends are over, and then that opens up this whole other thing, because then the girlfriend's leaving us. I'm like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to handle this now? So now I have to, like, talk to you about how your girlfriend's leaving us too, and I have to clean it up to her. Like, what the fuck?
Right, and that's where you're gonna have to have the conversation, because it's getting bigger. It's getting bigger and bigger. So you could see, it's like, okay, how much more put out do you have to feel so that you actually gonna do something? And that's what the reaction stuff's happening now, right? So it's like, all right, that's the straw. That's the last straw. Now we got the girlfriends. Now I clean up after you boys, and I'm going to clean up after your friends, and everyone's just going to walk out the door. Well, you're Cinderella in there, scrubbing and feeling taken advantage of, And then one day you're going to get up and be like, enough, I'm not doing this. And you're going to get angrier and angrier because we seem to have to get angry enough to actually say something instead of have a conversation. You know, like we have to get taken advantage of enough before we actually have a conversation about what it makes us feel or what, you know.
Or have to get really big for it to.
Yeah, well, it has to get really big because if we're afraid to talk to people about what's going on or what it's making us feel or how we do this, you know, how do we work this out? You know, and we could say that, you know, this is how I'm feeling, you know, I'd like to figure out how to work this out and come up with ideas. But if we're not having any of those conversations, we just have resentment. So what's the first thing that you can do? You know, like you might have to make an appointment to talk to them.
House meeting.
Because I've been thinking, oh, like I'd like to tell them that, you know, chat with them. You know, the times that we've actually had, you know, powwows about things, you know, everyone goes away feeling a lot better about things, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But, just.
That might be why you need to do it.
Yeah.
Because what happens when the energy builds up? We have a lot of energy right now, and you're holding on to it, so the energy is just building up. So when you go in the house, you're already having resentment. So then you're adding more energy to that, and it's like, how do we release it instead of having a fight and yelling, and having to build it so big that we actually could then say how we feel, like in the angry way, like, no, I'm doing this, this, and this, and this, and you guys are doing none of this, and now you got your girlfriends here, and like, where that would be the thing, instead of saying like, all right, you know what, before this turns into, and I build up this thing, let me go talk to them. Let's have a meeting, you know, let's sit, and so we could actually come to something, because I'm getting upset. I don't know what they're getting because I haven't seen them. They don't know what I'm getting because I haven't seen them. They haven't seen me. So let's, you know, try to figure out how we could have a time that we'll all be home so we could talk about what, you know.
Yeah, I guess I didn't, because I know that like when we say something like that, I need to talk to you.
Right. That's a bad word. Well, then what's a different way that we can say that? Because that saying we need to talk is definitely not a good way, because we already have a setup on that. You know, what's a different way that you could say that?
What about spinning it positive, like, hey, I've got some ideas for the house? What do you think of?
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I would just ask them to hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Hang out, like a good beer.
Mm-hmm.
Just have it be something like that, and then bring it up. So I feel like that would put them more at ease. That's more there.
Or could you just catch them together when they're free? Instead of like making it a formal let's go out thing, just like, hey, well, I won't have both you guys.
It 0% of the time happens. Like we've had like all three of us in the house at once, you know, maybe 3 times since we moved in. You know, everyone does work. I work a lot too, and yeah, I'm sure, you know, it's easy when I'm there to see the things that I'm doing and that they're not doing, but I'm not there a lot too, so I really couldn't say, you know, how much they're helping out. So yeah, a lot of it is potentially me,
But that's where I think the one that you said about, you know, hey guys, I'd, you know, love to go grab a beer and catch up. You know, that might be a better one, because you don't get to see each other a lot. You do all live together. You do need to spend a little time, because you do all live together, and everyone like get some clarity on what, you know.
Yeah, and I'd really like to be friends with them.
Right,
When
and you
we
would like
do
to go out
hang
and have a
out.
beer.
Yeah, like I have a good time with them. It's just
So why
I
wouldn't
think
you?
that's why I get it. It's like it hurts me to feel like they don't want to do that. You know?
Bless you.
It makes me feel sad that they won't ever like, initiate or that they won't make time.
Maybe they think you don't want to do that because you're so busy.
Because I'm always yelling at them.
That too. Sound like a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah, I am fun.
In their perception, You might seem like you wouldn't be if you're always yelling at them. Well, let me see. You don't see them that much. And then a couple of times when you see them, your energy is resentful because they're not doing anything or you're cleaning up after them. I'd say they could probably feel that.
That's true. It's probably a lot of the stuff
That you're not saying.
that you're not saying.
And that they're not saying.
And we forget about that easily because we usually go by what we're saying. It's like, oh, I haven't seen them, but really they're feeling us.
Because
All the time.
if you're feeling resentful, remember what we talked about when you walk into the house and no one needs to be there, but you know something happened there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there was a fight here tonight, and no one's there. You're like, what went down here tonight? Because you could feel it when you walk in the door. It's interesting, but if your energy is saying resentment and you're going to do the dishes, you're going to, give the dogs water, and you're like, they didn't even give them water.
Yeah, well, and that has happened.
Mhm. It's like the least you could do is give these dogs some water. I mean, you didn't fill their bowl up before you left, and then you start in your head building, it's like blocks, building blocks, and, making the assumptions about, and we should never make assumptions, but we do. And then the next thing you know, you've got a big story about what they did and how they did it, and then that energy is pouring all over. And all you got to do is hear them. That's all over the place. So all you got to hear is them coming in the house. You could be in your room, them coming in the house with their girlfriend. What did your energy just do?
Daggers. Yeah.
It's very friendly, huh?
I always feel like I'm being friendly. Yeah, energetically. I guess.
Energetically,
I throw a lot of shade.
Yeah. Not. We're not talking what you say. Remember what I always tell you guys. You listen to what the person says, but read their energy. Their energy doesn't lie. So if you're listening to what you say, but read your energy. What your energy is. On next week's episode, it's the, what's enough? When we were talking about in doing the stress book, it's like, what the hell's enough anymore in a day? What the hell's enough to do?
Wake up.